It's your boy Concert Viz 34, and I am just a torn sports fan today. Super Bowl Sunday, diehard Patriots fan, but because of Allen Iverson and because of Keith Primo coming from the Whalers to the Flyers, I am someone who loves the city of Philadelphia for other sports outside of football. I've actually never been able to have access to see the Patriots field in person, but I've actually stepped foot on the Eagles field during a tour before a Flyers game. So, I want the Patriots to win. I want TB12 to get that ring, but I do have respect and admiration for Philadelphia fans. Now, let's talk about what we're here to talk about today, which is the Dave Matthews Band show yesterday in the Twin Cities area, where there is a lot of Super Bowl hype, and part of this hype was to have a concert here in the XL Energy Center in St. Paul, just in the other Twin City from where Super Bowl is today in Minneapolis. And this was a show that was marketed and prepared for last year in anticipation for this Super Bowl weekend. We have this show being a very pivotal time in the band's history. It's the first show of their kind of mainstream era without Boyd being there, to my knowledge. And that's a big thing. He is the violinist, the fiddle man, and he kills it when he is 100% healthy. He's had some health issues. We wish the best for Boyd. And I do want to start off the video by saying, Boyd, we wish the best for you. I'm heartbroken about the timing of the decision, but I respect your decision to take care of family matters, health matters. I would never expect you to go out here and have to wrestle with knowing you needed to be back home to deal with your health and family. That said, I want to talk about this show from a perspective of someone who just was able to stream this through Facebook Live. Shout out to John Lowe of DMB Family. He was the plug, the connect for this show. And shout out to other people who gave different perspectives. What I was doing was listening to John Lowe. He was right at the railing, right by the stage. So, of course, I'm going to hear his audio, but I was pulling up other different streams and trying to check out if people were periscoping and looking at different angles while I was listening to his audio. And it was a really cool thing that fans did this. Now, I know people want to get on people about cell phones at concerts, but when the band's not offering streams for the majority of their shows, you need these fans to be the reporters on the ground so that fans like me can know what to expect if they don't find a replacement for Boyd. And I want to talk about this show. First, I want to talk about the negatives, what I didn't like. Again, I'm trying to make these videos more positive, so let's get the negative stuff out the way first. Don't drink the water. Nah. Not been a fan of this since I've been going to shows since 2012. I prefer the 1998 version live, the 99, 2000 versions as well. Those were slower. Those did not have a screeching loud electric guitar. And while it's a song about natives losing their land to people that are killing them, it's still a song that I think is better when it's slower and builds up slowly to the peak instead of having a loud electric guitar the whole time. That's what it is. Hope it changes, but it probably won't. Satellite, live, man, a groan. You could hear it on the Facebook live stream. Satellite starts to play and everyone's like, great. Actually, I love the chords of Satellite and how Dave plays them uniquely to his own way, being a guitar player and learning that song. But live, you hear it so many times and you kind of get sick of it. Just like that cousin that you would fight for if they needed to. They were in a situation where people were about to fight him, you would put your fists up. That's how Satellite is. It's that cousin that you just, you dread them. But if things got real, you'd be there for them. And then You and Me. Actually, I didn't mind You and Me this time, but I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'm also not married, so maybe that's why. But I understand why people like it, so I was like, yeah. But it still was actually pretty good. And the one song that I didn't dislike, but I saw the challenge looking the band straight on, was Ants Marching. This was a pivotal point, the final song of the night in the encore slot 2 of the 2-song encore. And the beginning was very rough because Boyd is the critical piece that was missing. Now, what I love about this band, what I've loved about bands like Umphrey's McGee, who I've seen without their lead guitarist, I like how professionals like DMB, like Umphrey's McGee, can find a way to overcome adversity, and that's what they did. So tough beginning, but they pulled it through, and they were able to finish it good. those are the negatives and the difficult moment in the night. Let's talk about the positives. Wrote this on a couple different forms last night, but really, if You Never Know is going to come back this year, this is a standalone show, but if it comes back for the full summer tour experience, by all means, I am ready for this year. I'm sold based on that. If they're going to bring back songs like You Never Know, like Alligator Pie and Time Bomb, and play these songs that they haven't played in a while, I can't wait to go to these shows that I want to go to. And I may get tickets for Hartford, where I'm on the fence about because I didn't get the warehouse confirmations. But shoot, If You Never Know, it was a great surprise. Heard it back in 2014. I heard it back on July 12th. The last time it was played was July 26th, 2014. It's an amazing song, studio version, live version, and even last night, great song. And like I said, Time Bomb, I know many of the fans that were touring heavy during Big Whiskey, you may be sick of it, but I started in 2012 going to shows, so I only heard it once live, and I love it. It's appropriate for the way the world is thinking, the way the world is right now. It's a great song to hear. And then we have Alligator Pie, another Big Whiskey song that doesn't get enough plays. They play Seven and Why I Am, but Alligator Pie is a cool little song that if it's played in moderation in 2018, it would actually be pretty cool. And it also is a song they can do without Boyd, respectfully, but they can do it without Boyd, and Dave is on his little electric guitar there. The tribute of the night is to Tom Petty, and I'm glad that they did Running Down a Dream. I actually saw the tour, or the live debut for the full band of Running Down a Dream back in 2013 in Hartford. A really rainy day for those who were there. Now, one of the big things that people are talking about is, how can this band go on without Boyd? Oh my gosh. How will they play Lie in Our Graves and Ants Marching and 41? Well, you know what? We know that they can play 41 without Boyd. It's not the same, but man, 41 was on point, at least in my opinion. And I think that they can play Lie in Our Graves. And one of the reasons I believe in this band is because Dave and Tim made a career off of playing these songs without the full band. That whole entity is different. It is a little different. It's not the same as the full band. But man, last year when I saw Dave and Tim finally able to secure tickets to one of their shows in my area, it was great out there in Saratoga Springs, New York. Lie in Our Graves without Boyd, hearing what Tim did on the acoustic guitar was amazing. I don't think it's going to happen, but if Tim could get on the acoustic guitar for something like Lie in Our Graves, that would actually be really, really cool. And let the horns, I know the horns can be too loud, but let the horns fill in what the electric guitar would have done, and let Tim play on that acoustic guitar. I don't think it'll happen, but that would be a cool idea if the band's listening, if management is listening to this video there as well. Also, management, by the way, please, we need that before these crowded streets. Vinyl for the 20th anniversary. Please supply us with that this year. I'm hoping to get that from my record player over there. Anyway, they played songs without Boyd, and I had faith in them just because, again, Dave and Tim do this on a touring basis every now and then. It's going to be different, but these guys are pros. And that's what you have to realize for people that are just like, oh, the band's just going to fall apart without Boyd. No, the energy will not be the same. It will not, plain and simple. But these guys are great at what they do. Even the things I disagree with, they are talented. You cannot deny the talent of these musicians. And they will overcome this. They will find ways to pull through. One thing I want to warn people about is assuming that they are going to have a replacement on violin. Shout out to my boy Pete. He brought up an interesting point. Think about this band and who guests with the band. We've had bass players guest with Stefan there, and he's never been offended. We've had sax players when Leroy was still alive, R.I.P. But Leroy's like, that's cool. We've had horn players with Leroy. He was always cool with it. He was always spreading the love. But we haven't had a consistent violin player that has played with this band night in and night out. I think when Zach Brown was doing those shows like with Citi Field, I think that was 2010, and a couple other stadiums like Busch Stadium there, the new Busch Stadium, or the newer one, I think maybe Zach Brown band's violinist played with them. I can't confirm that. I'll have to look it up later. But maybe that, but you don't see someone pulling up from the beginning of this band to now that says, "All right, Boyd, you mind if we just let this guy pull up and play a little, fiddle?" I've never seen that to my knowledge, and I've gone through the archives and educated myself, being someone who was 4 when Under the Table and Dreaming came out, or 3.5 to 4. So that's going to be the challenge when Jeff filled in for Leroy on a temporary basis and then full term due to the unfortunate situation there with his passing. Jeff Coffin was on stuff back in 98, okay, with Bella Fleck and the Flecktones. He was playing these songs. He was playing rigorous shows with the band as a guest. He had to know everything there was to know to guest with DMB and to be approved, because, DMB ain't letting, just like Elton John, he's one of the GOATs. They're not letting Miley Cyrus pull up and sing a song with them. All right, that's just what it is, okay? So to be accepted back in the Bella Fleck and the Flecktones opening for DMB days to play with them, he was ready to go. I don't know if there's a violinist who's available, because, again, the timing was bad with this happening after many major and minor bands have already set their tour schedule, and they have their bandmates depending on them for their living to be at these shows as well. So I don't know a professional violin player that knows the catalog that can do this. Now, maybe I think, honestly, and this is just my opinion, the best bet is a tribute band violinist. Find the best one. Even if you look at Billy Joel, the dude who does Big Shot, he's allowed into his band. So that's really the only thing I can think of, because the only people that are listening to DMB recordings are these people in tribute bands. If you find a violinist from one of these tribute bands for DMB, maybe they'll be the best fit. Can they handle the crowds and the touring and the larger expectations of being with the real band? I'm a real band. Who knows? But that's really my best guess. I don't think there's any professional that knows this catalog well enough that can actually hang with this band for an entire summer. So we'll see what happens. Maybe they add a banjo player like Bella Fleck. Maybe they add some other sort of string string-related instrument with a professional playing that, of course. But I wouldn't assume that they're going to have a replacement by summertime, because, again, things have already been booked for the summer for any touring musician with the band. But I guess we'll see. Definitely like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you were there and what you thought being there. There's nothing that can replace being there. I'm just sharing, full disclosure, my thoughts from afar. I am looking at the set list, listening on Facebook Live. Shout out to John Lowe again for streaming it, but I was not there. When you're there, it's a different experience. The feelings and the vibes you get from the band are completely different. That's why we pay the money, or at least most of us do. We pay the money to go see them live versus, we don't. And then we'll get the tape recordings of stuff we can't make, but we try to make certain stuff. Support live music. Peace, love, and rock and roll. But I am out.